Yeah, it's literally the only thing that was missing in Peter Pan's Neverland was a bar, a fully stocked bar.
Right, yeah,
that sells moonshine. I feel like the Lost Boys would have become a whole lot more lost if that was the case.
Also true.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about, speaking about the tribe, the tribal nature of party hostels, and especially the party hostels that you guys ran?
Oh, yeah, let's get some.
This is actually one we didn't even think about when we were sort of like brainstorming ideas for what to talk about here. But do you want to talk a little bit about the rivalry that kind of developed between Retox and Grandio?
Was there a rivalry that kind of came up with that? And when did the rivalry...
Not towards the end, I don't feel like, but I think there was definitely
it
a
had
time.
to be squashed.
Yes. You got to tell the story of the Hostel Wars.
Hostel Wars.
I'm not going to tell individual stories unless Susie prompts me, because her memory is better than Hermione's. But I will say, when this is exactly how you build a great tribe, is that you have to have someone to fight. So what's the point of having a tribe if there's no one to fight? So this is, unfortunately, I'm not going to take credit for starting wars. I don't want to start a war, but every hostel I've worked in for Susie, I always said, fuck the other hostels. We're better than they are, and we have to show everyone in the world that we're better than they are. Being crazier, being more fun, doing more social media. Like, I wanted that every place I went. And that was only to get people excited to do the extra bit, because working in a hostel is you wake up, you clean beds, you clean bathrooms, you're mopping up spew and shit and cum and all kinds of shit, and then you're on the piss for the rest of the day, and you're trying to get laid at night, and you're trying to show people the greatest part of the city. Like that's your life from literally you wake up to go to bed. Wow. So that extra bit is like to prove that we're great. It's a lot to ask for people, but if you want to be someone in this game, you have to show everyone else that you're going to go the extra mile. So Hostel Wars, unfortunately, came about of saying, yeah, are we the same family? Sure. But, like, I've got brothers. I love my brother. But fuck him, I'm better than him. I'm going to show everyone I'm better than him. And that's kind of how it started. It's not good for business. It's not. Wait a minute. It's not good for friendships. It's only good as far as securing your tribe and saying, like, we're a thing, so I as much as I hate like Hostel Wars, and I don't think they're good for business, I think they're good for business. I think they're good for emerging businesses, because sometimes you need to say, fuck you, older brother, like, I'm the new kid.
Didn't you try and sell your brother once?
I tried to sell my brother as a younger child. Doesn't matter, that's a different story.
How much did you ask for?
Free. It's free. Fuck that guy.
That's not selling, that's just throwing in the trash.
Is this on eBay?
Exactly. I was young. I didn't know salesmanship. Still don't. But no, to be honest, like, listen, in the early days of Retox, I remember sitting around with the crew, and I said, fuck Grandio, fuck Vitae, they're not us. We're crazier than them. What are we doing today? And for all the bad that it caused with the Hostel Wars, the good, I thought, was worth it. Bad was negligible. Hostel Wars is different, because a war takes two sides. Mm-hmm. So if you say, fuck Grandio, we're going to be crazy, and then Grandio goes, well, we're going to cut into your crazy.
If we leave the courtyard, yeah.
This is the problem. So, like, when you have two factions fighting against each other, that's a war. It wasn't the war that I wanted. A war would have been, a good war is like an online battle. We're like, we're crazy, and then you put a crazy video up, and then you one-up us. It wasn't like that. It was stealing. It was kidnapping people. It was fucking bad.
Wait a minute, what?
Fish in bed.
So we're talking...
Fish in bed, like real live fish.
Like fucking can of tuna in someone's bed.
Oh, mate.
Stealing Eddie. We never saw Eddie again.
Yeah, he got kidnapped.
Who was Eddie? Was this a human being?
Eddie was our janitor.
Well, let me just put it this way.
Someone
Eddie worked at
stole your
Vitae.
janitor.
Eddie was kidnapped. Never saw Eddie again. It wasn't
did you know about
positive.
this? Did you know about
No, this is the first that I'm hearing. This is the first that I'm hearing.
Hostel
about this,
Wars.
for sure.
Was it a period? Like, was it?
It's periodically.
Yeah, but it has to be stopped. Here's the thing
Has
about
to be stopped.
the war takes
We must stop this.
the war. No matter what you do, as fun as it is, and the stories are funny, the number one, the only person that loses in the war, the number one person that loses is the guest. Because you have staff from rival hostels fighting each other, and they're not taking care of the guest. They're not bringing the guest into it, which means they're losing out on the experience. And when we saw people like not bringing people in, they're just fighting each other.
The most recent Hostel Wars, Grandio was brilliant, because Grandio would bring their guests in. They're like they had
Into the war.
into the wars. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna attack.
It's a new age warfare.
Retox. Come with me.
If you're here, we can't be
Yeah,
back.
Did you ever send spies and like or moles? Did you have moles?
Of course.
Did you literally have moles working for the other?
It was war.
It was war.
You kidding me?
What's a war without moles and spies?
Dude, this is a whole episode we need to do on
I
the
think we're
Hostel
gonna have
Wars.
to do another episode later on the
You
Hostel
will get
Wars.
Gemma for that.
Yeah.
Oz,
We'll bring some deep
Rio.
moles. No, of course. Yeah. You're fighting against each other. There's when you don't know the terms of the war, so you just want to win. And by the way, no one knows what winning means. It's just like,
It's a bizarre
how
thing. 'Cause
ridiculous
as
can we
Smike said,
be?
like you're creating a community, you know, and his idea is like, okay, we are the tribe. We're us. It's awesome. So you're trying to make this community. You're trying to make sure that everyone feels like they're part of the greatest thing, and then the tribalism, yeah, as you know, this has caused many issues in the past as well. But you're also solidifying that tribe and that community and that family and that friendship, and that's the flip side. The beauty of it is the strength that you bring from that. Like it's unbeatable.
Yeah, there is that. So it can kind of strengthen your unit within the hostel itself that you're running. But then fast forward to later on that evening when you're all supposed to be going out together as, you know, a chain of hostels, not just as individual hostels, to, you know, a boat party or on a pub crawl or a two party. And that's when you have people butting heads out in public, drunk, with guests around that they're supposed to be taken care of on the pub crawl or whatever, and they're too busy having fights amongst each other because of this feudal tribalism that, you know, has developed in the hostels. And that's I think definitely where I have to agree with Smike. The person who loses out at the end is the guests.
Definitely.
You know, because it tarnishes the experience that you can give your guests if you're too preoccupied, you know, fighting amongst yourselves. No matter how much of a really tight-knit unit it creates within the hostel, like once you leave the bounds of the hostel and then, you know, it's warfare, you know, like you're out on the front lines, and that's when it really can kind of
But
damage things. But
do you know how many guests in the midst of those fights have Vitae tattoos or tattoos who are like, eat shit, motherfucker, and they have a Retox X on their chest? Like,
If you
so this is
lined
where
up,
you say it's bad for business, but it's also good for business.
I think the hostel game is about creating memories for people. When you travel, no one says, not about memories, definitely not about that. It is. It's like one of the number one things. So if you go home with a X tattoo, which is the Retox logo, as a Band-Aid that's in the shape of an X on your chest, you go home. Man, that story is there forever. That's the greatest thing. You can talk about a hostel word. That's not a bad thing. Like, mistakes are mistakes if you don't have a story. Otherwise, it's a great story. And I think we provided a lot of fodder for stories. And so, Hostel Wars was awful. Again, for a business, don't do it. Don't do it. But also,
If you do,
if you're gonna
make sure you get some stories.
well, here's the thing: if you're gonna have multiple arms on the same business, let's say you're running bars and you have 4 or 5 different bars in the city, it's competition. I'm American. I'm sorry, competition's a big deal for me. And every time I went into a new place when I was working for Susie, I said, "That's it. Fuck those other places. It's us." Because competition, you know. So I think competition's great. Can it go wrong? 100%. Has it? Yes, 100%.